Good.
Hello, welcome again to another enthralling, exciting episode of the 8 Fundamental Pillars of Business Marketing. Today with my friend, David SHILLITO, coach, mentor, entrepreneur.
Hello.
Dave will talk today about pillar number 7. So over to you, Dave, about pillar number 7.
Yes, thank you, Rajesh. Pillar number 7 is about social proof. Now, there are lots of different types of social proof, but the two I want to focus on in this training are testimonials and guarantees. But let's take a step back and ask ourselves why social proof is so important, and indeed why the need for social proof is kind of baked into our DNA as human beings. So let me ask you this, Raj. Have you ever made a mistake?
Yes.
Yes. And I imagine everybody watching this has made a mistake. It might have been a foolish schoolboy type error, or it might have been something that only retrospectively became a mistake when they looked back on it. Because the only exact science in life is hindsight at the end of the day. We've all got 2020 looking backwards, right? So anyway, the point is that people would prefer not to make a mistake. Sometimes back in the old days when we were cavemen, a mistake could be fatal. So one of the basic default methods that we as humans are programmed deep in our DNA to use is something called the wisdom of crowds. Books have been written about this, the wisdom of crowds. And what this basically means is if you're faced with a decision or you're faced with some new situation or the consequences of your decision could be profound, one of the things you'll do, indeed one of the main things you'll do, is look at what everybody else is doing. Look at what everybody else has done. Look at what everybody else thinks is rubbish. Look at what other people think is good. Social proof. How confident is this person? And how much of other people upvoted that person's confidence? Is it false confidence in their products or themselves or their service or what have you? So anybody who's ever made a mistake will be going, okay, well, so how do I avoid making that mistake again? And so one of the ways, and one of the major ways, is to use the wisdom of crowds to look at what other people have done when faced with the same situation. You remember in the last pillar we were talking about a line to add to your email newsletter subscriber box. Instead of saying join our investment newsletter, give us your name and email address, it should say join our investment newsletter, 15,000 investors can't be wrong.
Yes.
So that is social proof. It's a kind of a testimonial. But social proof is about the avoidance of risk. So essentially, it's about risk reversal. Anything that you can do to remove an obstacle from your prospect's decision-making path is something you should do. And one of the big boulders, one of the big roadblocks is they don't believe you. They don't trust you. They've been stung before. You know, Lucy has pulled the ball away from Peanuts. I don't know if you know, Charlie Brown is always conned by Lucy. She convinces him she won't pull the football away, and she pulls the football away every single time and then laughs at him. So buying anything, or indeed buying into anything, such as an idea, involves risk. And our prospects don't like risk. They don't like it. In fact, mostly they are risk averse. Nothing wrong with being risk averse. It's just a question of at what point does one's aversion to risk become overcautiousness? You know, many people seem to have the goal of arriving safely at the grave, having encountered no problems at all, which makes no sense. So your prospects don't really want to take a chance. They don't want to take a chance on anything over a tenner. They prefer not to shoulder any risk, if possible. In fact, secretly, they want you to shoulder all the risk. right? They want you as the vendor to remove as much risk as possible from saying yes. Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely.
So it follows that the more risk-free we can make an offer or make the offer appear to be, the more likely we can move the needle and move the prospect forward, the more likely they are to buy, right? So it is effectively risk reversal. This should not be misunderstood, underestimated, forgive me. And this is why it is getting today its own pillar. That's how important it is. Now, naturally, the higher the investment, not just money, could be time, but we'll stick with money. The higher the investment, the riskier the proposition, right? The greater the cost of loss, the riskier the proposition. So the higher the risk, the more comfort we need to provide up front to mitigate that risk. You with me?
Yes.
So people who are spending a lot of money will look for a big guarantee, and they'll look for lots of social proof, and they'll look for ways to get their money back and all kinds of stuff if they're going to be shelling out a lot of money. You know, if it's a lot of money, then they want to know that there are institutions and bodies that regulate the type of company who are serving you. Like umbrella companies, overarching institutions that look after mortgage companies. You know, if this mortgage company goes bust, who's the higher power? Who can I appeal to get my money back? So, and of course, let's say that you were speculating £2. You wouldn't need a great deal of social proof because you're hardly going to cry into your beer if somebody doing a shell game on the pier robs you of £2, you'll go, more fool me. It's no great loss. But the higher the investment, the riskier the proposition, the more comfort that we as vendors need to provide up front to mitigate that risk, right? So there are quite a few ways that we can reduce or even reverse the risk for our prospects or customers. And although there are quite a few of these, two of the most potent that I'll speak about today are testimonials and guarantees. Testimonials and guarantees. So a guarantee is basically you shouting and bawling about how bloody confident you are that your thing can solve their problem. So confident that if it doesn't, you'll give them their money back. That is a basic risk reversal. It's about, okay, you're not shouldering the risk, I'm shouldering all the risk. If it doesn't work, you can send it back, all that kind of thing. And testimonials, the wisdom of crowds. Testimonials from other satisfied customers, other satisfied clients. The reason that I, at davidshillito.com and my brand business model mastery, the reason that I have pages and pages and pages of testimonials from people all around the world is because, apart from the fact they're delighted to give me them, is because I ask. It's part of my process. When anybody says anything positive about me, I always say to them, that's great, and I really am grateful for that. Of course, people who've never come across me before are wondering whether or not I'm full of it. So would you be kind enough to kind of re-articulate what it is that you've just said in like a testimony? They never say no, but I go through this process. It's baked into my business model, and this has allowed me to harvest hundreds of genuine testimonials from people that I've been able to help. And that is pretty potent juju. It's very, very strong social proof. So these two elements, along with many others, but these two main elements serve as social proof. Let's have a look at testimonials, right? If a company says that they're the best, it doesn't really mean anything because any company can say that. You agree?
Yes.
Any company can say that. But if past clients and current clients have nothing but good things to say about you, then this triggers this ancient program within us, which is called the wisdom of crowds. Now, it's not always reliable, but it is a go-to, initial, default, gut, human reaction. Oh, I don't know what to do. Oh, what's everybody else doing? Right? this, it works across all sectors and all, not just industry, but it's the same in the dating market, for instance. No woman wants a man that no other woman wants.
Strange,
Right?
isn't it?
So if a woman's trying to figure out if a man's attractive or desirable, one of her shortcuts is, have any other women found him attractive and desirable? Do any other women find him attractive and desirable? That's a quick touchstone to figure out using the wisdom of crowds. So it's pretty universal, because there is this inherent safety in doing what everybody else is doing, right? So that thing that we mentioned before about the 5,000 investors can't be wrong line, okay? So this is also observable in the animal world, okay? You only have to look at those cute meerkats, all up on the hind legs, all looking round, always alert. You've seen those?
Yeah.
They're kind of cute. Now, if one of them spots a threat and bolts underground, do you think the others, A, keep looking around themselves until they also spot the danger, or B, just follow that first creature's lead and scarp her? I can assure you it's B, right? And we're the same as humans. If we're stood daydreaming in a doorway and all of a sudden hundreds of people start running past us all screaming while looking behind, we won't go, what the hell's wrong with these people? We'll start running, and while we're running, we'll say to the person next to us, what's going on? The wisdom of crowds. So it's the same with animals. We are literally programmed to do what everybody else is doing or has done. And interestingly, as a sidebar, this is especially true if those who have already done the thing or already bought the thing or already endorsed the thing are famous, right? At an intellectual level, it could be argued that we shouldn't be affected by such things, that you know, who is this person just because they're famous? But as I like to say in Entrepreneurs School, which is the big 12-month program for business model mastery, we're all about riding the bus of human nature rather than pushing the bus of human nature. Some things we can do nothing about. Some things are already baked into society. They're already accepted. Trying to change that would be like nailing jelly to a mirror. Why bother? Why not just do a jiu-jitsu and work with the momentum that society has already generated? Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Okay. If we had more time, I'd give you an example. I may cycle back to that later. Try and remember to remind me, if you would be so kind. So yeah, if the person's famous, although we don't really like the idea that we're influenced by fame, we are. So let me give you a potent example of this. Let's say we have two companies and they're both in the same industry. They both make handmade leather shoes.
Handmade leather shoes, okay.
Handmade. So let's say they're Italian companies and they both make handmade shoes. Now, company one creates an advertisement with all the features and benefits of investing in a pair of their beautiful handmade shoes. So they're following all the protocols that we outlined in the previous pillar, writing a better ad, and more. They're doing everything right. They're articulating and showing what most excellent materials they use to put their shoes together. They're showing and articulating how long their skilled craftsmen have been working these fine leathers. They'll have images of cross-sectional cutaway things of you know, the shoes to show the layers of heel and sole and sock and upper and all that kind of stuff. And they'll have details about the traditional techniques that are still used to this day, handed down through generations of man and boy, blah, blah, yada, yada, yada. So a hell of an ad, an awful lot of information and constructed really well. They've not missed anything out. Now, this seems pretty impressive. It does seem to hit all the right details. You agree?
Yes, I agree.
But this is all what the company is saying about themselves.
Mm.
This is all about them blowing their own trumpet. So that's Handmade Leather Shoe Company 1. That's what their ad is made up of. All the things that you would expect to be required in an ad. Company 2 runs a different ad. Company 2's ad is just a list. And that list is basically one-line testimonials. Best shoes I've ever worn. Donald Trump. I'll be back for more of these shoes. Arnold Schwarzenegger. These are simply the best and I've worn them all. Tom Ford. I love mine. I have 7 pairs. David Beckham. Unbelievable value and quality. Sting. Best wedding gift ever. Prince Harry.
Mm.
That's all you need to say. So the second company is leaning hard and heavy into social proof. They're basically saying, yeah, what they do well, everybody does well. But look who's buying our shoes.
Celebrities.
Testimonials. That is the power of testimonials. You don't have to talk about the handcrafted leathers or the processes or any of that stuff. All you need is a list of famous people who will love your shoes and are prepared to go on record as saying so. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yes.
Social proof. Now, of course, testimonials are social proof. Not only invokes the wisdom of crowds, but it makes the brand aspirational. It makes the brand itself aspirational. So if you look up to any of those people who are giving the testimonials, then you kind of want to be like them. You want to make the same decisions that they make. So that makes the brand aspirational. So the uncomfortable modern truth is that if you can get one single photo, right, of a well-known celebrity using, wearing, or eating your stuff, your product, or your food, you probably just saved yourself 5 years worth of elegant, studious marketing. That is the power of social proof, of testimonials, and of celebrity endorsement. It might not be comfortable. We might not like it. The intellectual side of our brain might rail against it, but it's still true. This is why they have $25,000 free goodie bags at the Oscars, because the people who put those things into those bags and give them away to the Brad Pitts and give them away to the Leonardo DiCaprios, they're hoping at some stage that Leo will wear the watch, or that Brad Pitt will say, yeah, went to Cancun courtesy of Wibbly Wobbly Holidays or something. Just some mention somewhere on their social. Boom. They've just saved themselves 5 years worth of hard marketing labor. So there is a term in the marketing world, and it is called the Sinatra effect. Have you heard of that? Do you know what the Sinatra effect is?
No, I guess it's based on Frank Sinatra.
Yes, it is. Frank Sinatra used to sing the old song, New York, New York. If you can make it there, you can make it anywhere. If you can make it there, you can make it anywhere. The Sinatra effect, right? Now, this refers to the goal of landing a famous client. The goal of landing a famous client, right? So, let's say you're a personal trainer and you're trying to convince people why they should choose you as a personal trainer. Most of the time, you'll end up selling sameness, not selling difference, because it's really difficult to differentiate yourself when all you're actually doing is shouting at somebody at 6 o'clock in the morning, right? However, somebody like David Kingsbury, who can say he's the personal trainer to Hugh Jackman, Wolverine, job done. Or a millionaire, a hat maker like Louis Mariette, whose clients include Kate Moss, Sophie Dahl, and Lady Gaga, right? Don't have to mention anything about hats. And the personal trainer don't have to mention anything about muscles or lifting weights or qualifications or any of that stuff. He just says, I train Hugh Jackman.
Enough said.
You get the picture.
Yes.
So imagine this scenario. You've been given the job of organising the catering for a big society wedding, right? A really big, important society wedding. And you've been given the responsibility of organising the catering, right? This needs to be done right. So you've got to choose the catering company who's going to do this catering for this big society wedding. Of course, just doing a search, there are legions of society wedding caterers, aren't there? Well, I'm asking you, I don't know if you've ever searched for society wedding caterers, but I'm pretty damn sure that any keyword-driven search will summon up a dynamically created page of lots and lots of those companies trying to get your attention. One of these companies, their entire marketing consists of just one single line. And that single line is official wedding caterers to HRH Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex. That's all you need to say. That's the Sinatra effect. If you can make it there, you can make it anywhere. If somebody starts ringing up that company who've catered Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's wedding and giving them a hard time down the phone, do you do this? Do you do that? All that company has to say is, look, we're fully booked for 3.25 years. We catered Harry and Meghan. Do you want to book or not?
You have the power in that case.
Yes, absolutely. This is the Sinatra effect, right? That's all you need to say. So if you sell B2B, that's business to business, your social proof could be both testimonials from influential company leaders, people who are likely to be known to your target audience, right? So in the internet marketing arena, there are some names which are really famous, but they're famous down a very narrow alleyway. They're very, very famous and very, very relevant to only a small percentage of the population. But that is another elegant idea that we pass along in the Business Model Mastery Live, which is affectionately known by graduates as Entrepreneur School. So this is one of the things that we teach, that you need to be uber relevant to somebody, right?
Right.
So let's say that you are trying to influence people in a particular industry or a particular vertical, then known luminaries, known names, known gurus, known influencers down that lane, people who are in that industry who will know those names. If you can get testimonials from those people, that is more than half the battle. The other half of the battle is the company's logos, because we're visual creatures. We've been looking at things a lot longer than we've been reading things, hence the paintings on cave walls, right? So we are primarily visual creatures. As I said in the last training, there is a good reason why we say a picture is worth 1,000 words. And a moving picture, a video, is worth 1,000 static pictures, by the way. So the inclusion of clients' logos is more potent than just the name of the company and the position of the person held. It's more potent to show the company logos, and this is why that is used. So if you have a system baked into your process to consistently harvest testimonials, as I do in my business, this is a good thing. People are happy to give testimonials, but you've got to ask them. So that is my monologue on testimonials as social proof. Do you have any questions about that?
Well, you seem to have covered very extensively the aspects of social proof and testimonials and celebrity endorsements and the
Yeah,
martyr effect.
it's
So I think it's a very powerful thing. Like you said, getting testimonials on the example that you gave on the Italian leather-made shoes.
yeah.
One company A is going on about the features and benefits. The other company's just got testimonials from famous clients.
Yeah,
And that
Barack
says it all.
Obama owns 4 pairs. What else do you need to know? That kind
Yeah,
of thing. Incredibly powerful. Right, I know we need to keep this short because you told me off last time because I was rambling for a bit too long. So let's talk
Sorry.
about guarantees as social proof. Right now, for
Okay.
some companies, their guarantee is their unique selling proposition, like FedEx. You know, and absolutely positively has to be there overnight. There is only one choice. So their guarantee is their USP. But for others, it plays a major role in the social proof of confidence in their product. Their guarantee plays a major role in the social proof of confidence in their product. Have you heard of Ginsu knives? I don't know if any of your viewers, listeners, if you're podcasting this, have heard of Ginsu knives, Ginsu, the Ginsu Knife Company. They were very famous in the States in the late 70s and early 80s. They ran a lot of TV ads and cable ads and what have you. I think they tried again in 2000. Anyway, no matter. Their promotions revolved around, number one, the value pylon. The value pylon is basically, but wait, you also get, I'm sure your viewers are familiar with that. Number two, the everlasting sharpness of the knives, right? This lent into the idea that demonstration beats explanation. So they would cut a tin can with a knife and then immediately feather cut a tomato to show you that it's not dulled the blade. And thirdly, their promotions revolved around something that nobody had ever seen before. A 50-year guarantee, 50, a 50-year guarantee. Now that's more interesting and intriguing than a lifetime guarantee. A 50-year guarantee, right? Now it's a fact that long guarantees are a huge risk reversal comfort. The very, very few people who asked for refunds were easily outnumbered by those who bought because of the social proof, that tacit risk reversal of the 50-year guarantee. Well, that's an important metric. I don't want that to slip by your viewers, so I'm going to run it up their flagpoles, make sure they salute it once again. The very, very few people who asked for refunds were easily outnumbered by those who bought because of the 50-year guarantee.
Very powerful.
Very powerful.
Guarantee, yeah.
As an insider tip here, in Business Model Mastery, we teach why the Ginsu Knife Company never lost money on refunds. They could not care less about refunds. They hardly got any because the pressure was taken off the consumer. If you buy something with a 50-year guarantee, you're hardly under pressure to test the damn thing and decide whether you want to send it back. So it makes the consumer relax. Oh, I've got 50 years to decide. That's a really extreme example. But in Business Model Mastery, we teach why the Ginsu Knife Company never lost money on refunds. They never lost money on refunds. It's very elegant. Now, no, I haven't got time to go into that. Okay. Now, in most Western countries, offering a guarantee is the law.
That's interesting.
It's the law, right? Consumer rights. We've got consumer rights, and those consumer rights basically say, okay, if it's not of merchantable quality, you can get your money back. And this is why eBay are constantly refining their buyer guarantee. When you buy something from eBay, it will tell you up front and center, this is covered under the buyer's guarantee. If you find any fault with this, send it back and we'll make sure you get your money back, irrespective of whether the original vendor turns out to be a a douche. We'll give you your money back. So if it is the law that you offer a guarantee of some sort, why not do a Ginsu and make your guarantee a feature? Make it a benefit. And if possible, make it a unique selling proposition as well. People remember the Ginsu knives because of that 50-year guarantee. I mean, quite a lot of companies now use lifetime guarantees, but Ginsu were the first to make people go, huh? A 50-year guarantee, a set of kitchen knives with a 50-year sharpness guarantee. That's really, really powerful risk reversal juju, and it sold them an awful lot of knives. I can tell you that for sure. So anyway, my final point is if you're in the Western world, which if you're watching this, I presume you are, then it is the law. And if it's the law, then why not do a Ginsu and make your guarantee a feature, a benefit, and if appropriate, a unique selling proposition as well. So that is the pillar on social proof. Those things, guarantees and testimonials, and that is how to use them. I can't go into depth here about how to harvest them. There are ways of using social proof, even in person-to-person selling. Okay. So one of the things that I did back in the day was I used to sell a freight forwarding service, which is not sexy. But I worked for a small company who used to run trucks over to the Benelux countries, and they used to put stuff in their trucks from companies who didn't export to Benelux countries all that often, and what they were exporting wasn't enough to fill a truck, but they still needed to get their stuff over to Europe. And so this company I worked with, they did what's called groupage. So they would get a van and they would get things from all these little companies and fill the van and make it financially worthwhile. So my job was to sell this service, right? Now, this meant I was always trying to knock out the incumbent, because anybody who exports to Benelux already has a freight forwarder and they have no loyalty. So they're basing their decision on social proof and price. How many other people use your service and how much is it? That's all they cared about. So briefly and finally, one of the things that I did when I went into that company and overhauled their marketing was to harvest the testimonials from companies who already used this small freight forwarding company, right? Croda Chemicals, Andrews Antennas in Scotland, and a few other well-known names. And I would compile them into a book, an actual physical book, because this was before the internet, right? And I would have this book secreted in my briefcase. And during my presentation with the shipping manager, it was usually a very short presentation, because all they're interested in is who else uses you, how much is it? So I would say to them, obviously you have plenty of people sat opposite you trying to convince you to give them a try, and I understand that. It's only going to be a 4-minute talk that we have here today. I get that. But we do have a lot of companies who already use us, who already trust us, who already know us, and who already like us. Now, can I assume that if they were in this room with us here right now, you would take notice of what it is they've got to say? You see how you're nodding? Because I was nodding.
Yeah, I was nodding, yeah.
So the freight manager would go, yes, of course, if they were here today, of course I'd take notice of what they got to say. And I'd say, well, of course, they're not here, but this is what they say about us. And then I would open the testimonials book and put it in front of them, and they only read 2 pages. They would never go past page 3. So I just elegantly closed them on the idea of you would take notice of the other people who used our service if they were in the room here with us today, wouldn't you?
Yes.
And and so
they're not in agreement.
Yeah, of course. And then I'd say, well, of course they're not here with us today, but this is what they say about us, and hand him the testimonial book. And more often than that, that gave us the opportunity to quote, which was what my job was, getting the opportunity to quote, nothing more. So I'm starting to ramble now. I hope your viewers and listeners have got value from that.
Definitely.
As you can see, these ideas, these principles are bedrock. This is why they're included in the fundamental pillars. They were used from time immemorial, before the internet even existed, and they still hold true now. People are risk averse. They don't want to make a mistake. And so they want to know, how confident are you in your own product? To what degree will you stand behind what you're saying? And who else has used you and had a successful outcome? This is risk reversal, because people don't want to make a mistake. They don't want to shoulder any risk. They want you to shoulder the risk. And that is what these two social proof devices are all about. So I hope that's been of use.
It's definitely been of value. Dave, thanks for sharing those, and also the examples that you gave with your freight forwarding example. Even like you said, before the internet, you had the actual testimonials there to show them, especially in a competitive and cutthroat market like that.
Yeah.
Once again, wise wisdoms, golden nuggets. Until next time. I appreciate you taking the time to show our viewers another very important and fundamental pillar that they need to bake into their business model.
Yeah, absolutely. So if anybody wants to know, this isn't an advert. I'm doing this for you, Rajesh.
No.
But if anybody wants to find out more about me, you can look me up at davidshillito.com. Just put me into that crazy Google machine, or my brand is Business Model Mastery. I have several on-ramps at different prices, something to suit everybody. And Entrepreneur School is the top level one, of course. That's a live, in-person 12-month program, which is the big Entrepreneur School thing I was referring to. But that's who I am. That's the name of my brand. If anybody's motivated to check us out, then that would be great. But otherwise, I hope this is a valuable standalone training.
That's great. Thanks again, Dave. Until next time, for the final pillar number 8, I'll speak to you soon.
Okay.
All right, Dave. Thanks a lot, Dave.
See you later. Bye.
Bye.